We're keeping a close eye on breaking news out of Singapore this morning. U.S. President Donald Trump arrived there within the last hour for that history-making summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Trump touched down at an airbase after a marathon flight from the G7 summit in Quebec. He was whisked away without commenting to his hotel downtown. Kim arrived earlier today. After months of vitriolic exchanges and threats to annihilate each other, the pair are due to come face to face 36 hours from now to discuss North Korea's denuclearization. It will be the first time a sitting U.S. president has met a leader from the rogue regime. Natasha Fatah is tracking all the details as history unfolds this morning. Natasha, now that Trump has arrived, what are we watching for?
Good morning again, John. Yes, we're waiting to see what the President of the United States is going to say, potentially what he's going to tweet, now that he has arrived in Singapore for this history-making summit between him and the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, as you said, has already arrived in Singapore, has already met with the Prime Minister of Singapore, and we've seen his delegation going through the streets of the city-state, how they're moving forward. We know that Trump is going to be meeting with the Prime Minister of Singapore tomorrow. All of this in the preparations for the big talk, the summit that will take place on Tuesday. Now, we know Trump's key objective here is moving forward with the denuclearization of North Korea. The North Koreans, for their part, are going to be pushing for the lifting of economic sanctions. Both parties, presumably, want to do this progressively, want to do this peacefully, and both are in a precarious position because they can't afford to look weak. One of the things we've been hearing a lot about is Trump prepared enough for this trip? So if you listen to Trump, including yesterday when he was giving that press conference in Quebec, he said it's all about how he makes deals. He trusts his gut. He trusts his instinct. He'll know within a minute of meeting Kim if things will go well or not. So he's really saying that I'm going to move forward spontaneously. But we know that behind the scenes, the president has been preparing. His staff have put together a series of documents for him that they say he's been poring over in preparation for the summit. We also know that he's met with Shinzo Abe specifically on the issue of how to move forward with North Korea because, of course, Japan, China, and, of course, South Korea will be closely monitoring how these talks move forward. So it'll be interesting to see how the negotiations move, how these two leaders who are both so unconventional in their styles, how unprecedented this meeting is, what it will mean for the greater issue of global security and peace within the region.
For a closer look, we're joined once again by Tina Pakna. She's the Executive Director of the Canadian Centre for the Responsibility to Protect. And she's agreed to meet us here early on a Sunday morning to walk us through and help us to understand all this. Let's begin with you showing, you can see during Natasha's report, the video of Kim Jong-un's limousine coming down the street and a phalanx of security people jogging next to him. He doesn't leave the country much. There is a tremendous amount of security around him, isn't there?
Absolutely, John. This is the first time Kim Jong-un has stepped outside of North Korea except for his visits to China. So this is very important that, all security details are looked after. So he has with him his top security agents who are looking after everything, from the hotel venue to even, position of plants in the lobby, right? They are making sure that the leader of their country remains safe throughout the summit.
Just so we're clear about that, you said the position of plants in the lobby. This is what you're hearing from South Korean media, that they are effectively taking over the hotel and moving even planters around.
That's right, because it's very important that, they do their job of protecting Kim Jong-un. And, you're looking at a very elite group of security agents who are not only, extremely trained in intelligence, but also, ideologically trained. And they come from a very particular group of, families in North Korea who've shown loyalty to the regime itself.
Okay, let's talk about the difference between these two men who are coming into this. We've seen Donald Trump make his comments about working with his gut, being, he would say unprepared. He says he's been preparing all his life. In other words, he didn't imply that he's been staying up late, hitting the books to learn everything he can about Kim or about the North Korean situation. Whereas the North Korean leader, where is he coming from?
Well, John, you have to understand that North Koreans study the United States all the time. So from the American perspective, North Korea may be one of many security issues that they deal with. But from the North Korean perspective, they focus so much attention on U.S. foreign policy. They study every tweet that is sent out from President Trump's account. So Kim Jong-un will come to this meeting fully prepared in terms of what he wants and sort of the patterns of American decisions concerning the Korean Peninsula. So we also have to remember that being the dictator that he is, Kim Jong-un has full support of his party and the political elites and his people. Whereas for President Trump, the same could not be said.
Now, I lived in Asia for many years, and I came to realize that there is a different approach in negotiations. Every country is different, every culture is different, obviously, in Asia, but there is that sense that the North American comes in, the brash North American comes in, the brash North American who likes to talk, sound like anybody we know, whereas the Asian business person, the Asian politician tends to sit back, be very considered, and to effectively let the man across the table from them talk themselves into trouble. Is there a sense that there might be some of that at work here?
You're onto something, John, because if you look at the patterns of negotiations between the United States and North Korea, North Korean diplomats have been exceptionally successful in maintaining their position and really ensuring that their interests are preserved. And we will see the same, I think, at this summit, except that, for both of them, for President Trump and Kim Jong-un, saving face is very important. And they want to make sure that they come out of this summit looking good and having made some progress on this important file. So both of them have vested interest in making sure that there is some form of timeline or deal on denuclearization and gaining some concessions out of each other and making sure that there is a cordial relationship to move forward. Because if you just, look at 6 months ago and how they were calling each other on Twitter, we're looking at a very remarkable change of tone and relationship if they are able to meet in person. And South Korea and its President Moon Jae-in certainly worked really hard to get them to the negotiating table. So we hope that it will be a positive meeting, and we hope to see some progress on very important issues that will affect international security.